So y'all here trying to get it right, man. But everything seems like it's just still going so wrong for so long. Well, I mean, you ain't the only one in this party. You feel me? So today we about to talk about top 10 differences between households over the last 10 years. Y'all tapped in with the Head of the Game podcast. Without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so I got some statistics for y'all I want to go over. Y'all, I ain't going to make this video too long. We'll just run through these, give y'all my thoughts, and then we're just going to keep it moving. So statistic number one. The middle class is no longer the clear majority. Well, and just disclaimer, I've not read none of these, so this is real-time reactions for y'all. I got y'all. That I did not know. That's crazy. All right, so it says around 50% of adults are now middle-class incomes, when 60% in the middle class, well, I guess if you combine the other classes, then yeah, I guess it would technically be like 50-50, but I guess, they're the majority of every other kind of class, lower and higher class, but like they represent the most people, but it's shrunken in comparison to those other groups combined. So that's what that means far as it's no longer the clear majority. It's the majority, but not the clear majority. Keyword. All right, so moving on to the next one. The income needed to be middle class has risen significantly. All right. So, I mean, that can kind of go without saying for sure, especially when it comes down to, cost of living, buying a house, buying a car, just the regular everyday American dream. The goalpost is definitely moved. You feel me? Now, there's a lot of metrics, a lot of different numbers, so on and so forth. But I don't need to run through all that down with y'all because, I mean, we all living it. You feel me? It's clear to see, pretty much to qualify for a $400,000 house way back when, in comparison to now, in comparison to the regular median household income, you would need 130. You feel me? For as a household, I think the average is around close to 80,000, right? So we're gonna move on to the next one. The middle class income growth has lagged behind the wealth or the wealthy, right? So it says middle class income has risen 60% over time. Upper income households saw a 78% growth over the same time period. So where they talk about like the K-shaped economy, where you got the two different classes and, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poor, that pretty much crystallizes that point far as like over time, the people that have the money are starting to see a better increase, and the people that ain't in that boat is starting to slowly trail behind as the wealth or the wealthy get more and more and more, advanced with that, right? All right, moving on to number 4. The middle class household has a smaller share of total income. All right, so middle class held about 62% of the U.S. income in the 1970s. Now, about 2022, that has now shrank down to 43%, meaning that pretty much the top 10% is more in control of holding up the U.S. economy. So if they stop spending money and they start drawing back, expect the house of cards to come crashing down. That's pretty much what that means, right? All right, moving on to number 5. Household debt has reached record levels. Total U.S. household debt hits around $18 trillion in 2025. 2026, obviously, that number is probably ticked up a little bit, right? But it's still accelerating. It's not decelerating. That's the whole point of this video. You feel me? Just to kind of give some perspective and some context of this, current economical environment we in right now. So pretty much, that just means that the people, more people are borrowing more money, though that they're making less. And it makes sense because the less buying power you have to have, the more money you have to borrow to make up for the difference of what you're lacking out of your earning power. I mean, you can put two and two together and pretty much, realize that that's not that's not rocket science. Number 6, expenses are consuming a larger share of income. Kind of went back to my last point, right? So what this says is the average household expenses were about $78,000 roughly in 2024, meaning which even a decent incomes are being eaten up by basic expenses. So pretty much back to my previous point, because things cost more, it's eating up a lot of your earning power, your buying power. Therefore, it's putting you in a position to where you would have to borrow more. So that kind of goes hand in hand. All right, number 7, moving on. Housing affordability has worsened. Kind of went back to one of my original points where because things have accelerated due to inflation, right? Things have accelerated to such a point to where now to afford a house, that class of people has now shrinking down to, either upper or above average earners or high earners, so yet again, you feel me, to be able to have the idealistical, okay, I get a job, I support my family, the whole model of what a U.S. household looks like, it's starting to change. You feel me? So pretty much it says housing costs have been one of the fastest rising expenses for the middle class families. Rising housing and child care costs are the majority driver of financial stress. So yet again, it goes back to the point I just made. Trying to raise a family. Not only you have to have more income for the house to buy the house, but child care has also inflated due to inflation. You're going to have to expend a lot more money. You're going to feel more pinched than any other generation of U.S. citizens, in modern history. Just majority-wise, right? All right. Moving on to number 8. Inflation has reduced real income gains. Median household income increased slightly, but after inflation, the increase was not a significant statistic. So meaning that, yeah, we're earning more than ever, but we're spending more than ever because things cost more than ever. So if you're looking at a ratio, right? If you're looking at a certain kind of ratio, right? And I'll give y'all an example. I'll give y'all a quick math equation. I'll make this very simple. You feel me? Very, very, very simple. All right. So if the ratio is 2 to 3, so every 2 you have 3, right? But each time, let's say 3 gets multiplied by 3 times, but 2 gets multiplied by 2 times. 2 times 2 equals 4. 3 times 3 equals 9. Times 3 again equals 27. So you got 4 versus 27. Or even if you sit up there and you multiply 2 times 3 by 2's, though the same ratio of increments is going up, it being added by itself, you're starting to see a separation. So 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. Because 2 times 2 equals 4. 2 times 4 equals 8. So you got 8 versus 27. Though 2 and 3 were numbers right next to each other, you have a certain duration of time, it being multiplied by each other, then you're going to start to see the separation. So that's pretty much what I mean by, yeah, the 2 represents your earning power, and the 3 represents how much things cost, right? So if you make $20,000 right, back in the day, but things were able to be afforded at $30,000. Okay, you fast forward, now you make it $80,000, but in comparison, that would be like $270,000 compared to your $80,000 buying power. You see the discrepancy? So in order that you're earning more, you feel me, inflation has pretty much offsetted that earning potential. Moving on to the next one. I knew I was going to make that one simple, but that one you probably going to have to get a piece of paper and really make some sense out of that, right? So anyways, number 9, households are working longer hours. Okay, yep. That I'm pretty sure people, gig work, gig economy, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, side hustles, even what people doing on social media, trying to add an extra income to their day job, so maybe they might get on social media or do something on the side to make up the difference, instead of just getting the traditional career and having that being able to pay for everything, right? So it says income growth in recent years has partially come from people working more hours, longer hours, not higher wages, meaning effort increased more than pay. So relative to what you're doing, you have to work more in order to live like the people of old, right? So that's all that means. And finally, number 10, financial pressure and economy anxiety have increased. Consumer confidence among middle-class households has declined in recent years. Middle-class shoppers are spending more cautiously, meaning even employed households feel less secure. So, I mean, that's pretty much the whole topic in a nutshell. So, because you have to do more, it pretty much gives you a smaller margin for error, right? You can't miss a dollar here, you can't miss a day of work there, because it can have a domino effect or a snowball effect that could affect you down the road, and then you got to play catch up a lot faster, right? So that's pretty much the sum of it. Now, my thoughts on this whole situation living in 2026 is like, you see it on social media, and social media is just a microcosm of what's really happening in reality, because everybody not on social media, right? But using that as an example, you're starting to see that people have to do more in order to make a living, right? Some people got to move back home. Some people got to get a roommate. Some people got to get a spouse, and getting a spouse, you have to then prepare for kids. So you think you're getting ahead, but then now you're starting to fall backwards because now you have an extra expense that offsets having that extra earning power. So, I mean, it all comes down to what you're willing to do and what you're willing to do it for and what you're trying to ultimately accomplish. And it isn't even worth it. You feel me? Like, some people don't want to buy a house at this point. Some people just want to rent because I think the mystique of being a homeowner has been exposed online. Property taxes, insurance, escrow. So even if you own your home and sitting up there thinking like, oh, well, I got a fixed rate, the 30-year fixed mortgage, you feel me? There's other expenses that could affect that mortgage that make you feel like you're still paying rent. So that's all I got for y'all, man. This was a fun one. I'll definitely do some more statistical, countdowns and stuff like that. And with that being said, thanks for watching the video. Comment, like, subscribe to the channel. That being said, catch you on the next one. I'm gone.